Hello, everyone. Well, as you all know now, we are focused on women's health, specifically from perimenopause to all the way to postmenopause. So I wanted to come up with a higher viewpoint today, rather than going into the gory details of which hormone is going out of whack. Ayurveda. Ayurveda thinks on a very holistic point of view, and it doesn't really distinguish these stages. So, to talk about this, how Ayurveda views these three stages of a woman's life, we have Laure. She is an Ayurvedic practitioner, and she is joining me live from Florida, and she helps women go through this phase with ease. Thank you so much, and namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for having me, Amita. Glad to be here.
I'm going to let you start with how Ayurveda views these three distinct phases in a woman's life.
Okay, wonderful. So, just so everybody understands what Ayurveda is, it's a one of the world's oldest, if not the oldest, natural and holistic medicine, and it comes from India. So I like to make this precision because it's important to give recognition where recognition is due, especially since it's been around for thousands of years, and it really took a lot of it speaks to the quality of the medicine to have survived and to still thrive today, and for us to be able to experience it in the West. So what do we mean by holistic? Basically, it's because it understands the person as a whole. It's not like we have a physical body here, and then we have a mind there, and then we have emotions on a different place. So the approach that we experience oftentimes in the Western world is a fragmented approach, and Ayurvedic medicine understands that everything is connected. So talking about perimenopause and postmenopause, all of this period in a woman's life, from an Ayurvedic perspective, is really important to understand where we are coming from, how we are looking at everything that is happening, all of the different symptoms, from hot flashes to weight gain to mood change and emotional and mental symptoms. It's all connected. And truly, from an Ayurvedic perspective, when we're experiencing symptoms, it is because of an imbalance. And oftentimes we have a tendency to speak in terms of perimenopause and menopause as being almost like an imbalance in our life, or a hormonal imbalance. From an Ayurvedic perspective, the changes in our hormones are normal. Menopause or perimenopause are not a disease. I think it's really important to understand that. So why are we having those symptoms as we are transitioning into this period of our life, especially not only as women in our 50s, but also what I am finding is more women of the Generation Z and millennials are actually experiencing perimenopause a lot earlier than, let's say, a quarter of a century ago. So from an Ayurvedic perspective, this is because of an imbalance that has been going on 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30 years. And those imbalances due to extreme stress and not a balanced work life, a yo-yo dieting, not really having healthy eating habits. This is the reason why when our hormones are changing normally, naturally, this imbalance is being exacerbated and we are seeing symptoms. So from an Ayurvedic perspective, the root cause of the symptoms that we are experiencing as we are transitioning is really due to a accumulation of waste, toxins, and impurities due to an irregular lifestyle and a digestive system and a gut health that is not working properly.
Okay, so no, I think I understand that there's an imbalance going on, but there is also a physical aspect of women's hormones taking retirement, right? We are no longer able, right? We're no longer able to produce kids after this. So
And thank you for that.
I know, otherwise the world population will go crazy. But so thank God for that. Yes, absolutely. So the menopause is defined as a period when it basically cessation of the periods, and before that is peri, and after that is post. So I want you to talk about, because they're two different distinct things, right? Periods are still going on, periods stop, and then now periods have stopped, right? So talk to us a little bit. The symptoms are different. So Ayurveda here and Ayurveda here, because here is osteoporosis and post, right? Right? And here is more hot flashes and going crazy. So talk to us here and there, right?
Yes. So again, we do in Ayurveda, we do take care of the symptoms. But I think it's really important, and I think it's really important to understand that the symptoms are exacerbated. They are due to when our hormones are changing. I mean, for as long as there have been women on this planet Earth, we've had hormone changes, but the imbalance in hormones are due to certain habits and behaviors that we've had perimenopause, and that we continue to have post menopause. So osteoporosis or osteopenia and all of those different things that we are experiencing, depending whether we are in our perimenopause period or our postmenopause period. Though hot flashes, I've had clients who still have them post-menopause. I still had them post-menopause. As well as migraines, I still had them post-menopause. So it wasn't until I changed my habits around how I ate, around how I lived, how I began to manage my stress in a more efficient way, also how I began to manage my emotions, or more particularly allow myself to feel my emotions, was it that I was able to to release all of those symptoms. And so when I realized that from an Ayurvedic perspective, and it wasn't really by taking more supplements, it wasn't by taking Ayurvedic supplements, it was more by following from an Ayurvedic perspective a routine, a lifestyle that was right for me. So in Ayurveda is a very personal, it's a deeply personal medicine. So everyone is different. Even though we might have the same kind of symptoms, what triggered our symptoms, the kind of stress, the kind of behaviors, the kind of behavioral tendencies we may have had is very unique to everybody. So that is why we can talk about symptoms if you want to, but at the same time, I would have to say, okay, so was it Vata related? Was it Pitta related? Or was it Kapha related? Because it's really different for everybody. So I really think that the important thing here is to recognize that we have an ability to change what we're experiencing. We don't have to let this transition affect us in the way that it's affecting us, just by pausing, no pun intended, and really looking at what we've been doing even before this transition, or what we are doing right now if we are post this transition and still having symptoms.
No, okay. So let's just talk about, I understand what you're saying, like, Ayurveda is a deeply personalized medicine and depends on not only your symptoms, but your habits and your emotional. So talk to us what you are doing, your daily routine, okay, as an example. How have you managed your menopause journey? Since we can't talk about do this to people, but share your journey. What lifestyle modifications have you done?
Yes, absolutely. So From my perspective, what I've learned for myself, and now that I'm teaching and educating my clients about, is really understanding that there are what you would call three pillars of physical health. And the first pillar is really what we call here gut health or digestion. So there's in Western nutrition, we focus on healthy foods. But the fact is, we can eat all the healthy foods in the world. If we're not able to digest them properly, then we can't really absorb the nutrition from these foods. And then we are lacking nutrition, and it will do a domino effect in terms of how healthy we can really feel. So it's really important to address digestion. And we address digestion from an Ayurvedic perspective by looking at not only our food choices, which are very unique for each individual, but also our habits around foods. So for example, I know that a lot of people think that snacking in between meals is healthy, and we can have a bunch of almonds and it will be wonderful and it will give us a lot of energy. And it might work for someone, but for someone like me, it didn't work at all. On the opposite, it created a lot of digestive issues like gas and bloating, simply because when I was eating those snacks in between my meals, I had not fully digested the meals prior to that. So really understanding how we can eat in a way where we're not experiencing gas, bloating, indigestion, reflux acids, where we're not feeling exhausted after we're eating, is an example of healthy eating habits from an Ayurvedic perspective. Also, food combining is really important. What you eat with what will affect how you digest food, and ultimately will affect your gut health. Now, there is a growing evidence, there's a growing body of evidence now where we understand how gut health affects mental health, it affects our energy, it affects our hormonal health and our immune system. So it's really important from this perspective. The second pillar of physical health is developing the ability or routines and habits that support our body's ability to release waste and impurities, which are found in, the air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink. So how do we support our body to eliminate this waste, toxins, and impurities that can cause a lot of different symptoms? And so in Ayurveda, we focus on the liver, the health of the liver. We also focus on the health of the lymphatic system, making sure that it works properly, that it functions properly. And we also focus on elimination. We focus on making sure that we eliminate properly. And then the third pillar of physical health, and especially in this time of our life, after having worked for 20, 30 years, we also focus on building resilience. So not only physical resilience, but also mental and emotional resilience. There's a Sanskrit word in Ayurveda called ojas. And ojas, one of my teachers, who was actually my Ayurvedic chef, mentor, because I am an Ayurvedic plant-based chef, he was my mentor, and he said that ojas is like bliss consciousness. So it's developing and cultivating this ability to be resilient no matter what life throws at us. And God knows life has thrown a lot of things at us for the last 3 years or so, or maybe even more. And it's also being able to put healthy boundaries. And it's really important, I believe, especially for us and for women. It was very important for me to learn how to put healthy boundaries so that I can have time to take care of myself and then feel replenished and take care of everyone around me.
I think that's beautifully said. Well, maybe you could share some of your favorite recipes since you are a plant-based chef, Ayurvedic chef. A couple of recipes that you recommend that women at this during this transition absolutely must have.
Yes, wow. You're putting me on the spot. There are so many. So, one of the things that I will say is that you really want to have diversity on your plate. So I'm not going to just say one recipe, but I'll share, and I'll share a link if you want to for sure of a video. But you really want to, I think the most important thing is really have diversity. I often say that as much as we are talking about having diversity at the workplace, you also want to have diversity on your plate. So, and I say this because oftentimes during this period of perimenopause, going into postmenopause, what we see happening because of the decrease in estrogen is that our metabolism slows down a little bit more. And if we don't change our eating habits and our food choices, then we have a tendency to gain weight. And so what happens as a result is that we go on a diet. So instead of nourishing our bodies, we deprive them. And by eating salads and things that are not really nourishing. So you want to have variety. And to my clients, I often give them like a plate and show them those different foods. So you want to have green vegetables, of course, but you also want to have root vegetables, and you want to have healthy grains, and you want to have legumes. Some of my favorite legumes are chickpeas, but I also love mung dal. I eat a lot of that because it's easy to digest, and I eat them in different forms, and I'll share that because it's typical of the Indian cuisine, which I love, but you can also cook them or prepare them in with another mirepoix, other base flavors. So anything from a dal soup to making dosas to making idlis, all of those things are so very, very delicious and a lot of fun. And then you also want to have healthy fats. So it's really important to have a variety of foods on your plate. And healthy fats can go from the oil that you're using to cook your food to seeds and nuts and avocados. And being able to have that, if you can't in one plate, at least in having all of those things during the 3 meals that you are having throughout the day. Does that help?
Yes, no, absolutely. Well, this is a quick 10-minute session that we bring on a daily basis for advocacy of perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, using different holistic therapies such as Ayurveda today, as we know that Ayurveda takes a holistic angle to everything and considers the imbalance as the underlying root of the issue rather than is segregating the way medicine do with this symptom versus that symptom, right? So that's the essence here. That's what we are trying to distill. Then look at the overall balance in your body and try to bring it in balance using Ayurvedic principles, the way Laure has explained it beautifully. So thank you so much for joining me. Please share the links of any recipes or anything that you can share. I would be very grateful. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Anita. Thank you so much.